What up, 12s? Welcome to the Seahawks Squad Show. Tough one for Seattle today, and that's what happens when you get below average quarterback play, even with a really good defense.
I'm Chris Crawford, and to be fair, he only missed that kick by about 40 yards.
What's up, everybody? It's Turbo, and that's all you need to know.
And I'm Rob Rang, and today we'll be talking about how the Seahawks came this close to pulling off a victory that they had no chance, that they had no reasonable reason to suspect that they would win.
Hey 12s, it's the Seahawks Squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
What up, 12s? Seahawks Squad Show here. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, and Turbo are here to break down a Seahawks loss against the LA Rams. Just a tough one. 21-19 is the final score as LA comes out on top in this NFC West showdown. Tough day for Sam Darnold. Great day for the defense. And I have lots of questions regarding, Sam Darnold's play, how much of it was him versus how much of it was the pressure that he was getting. I guess I should say. I just want to give the defense their flowers because they, even in a loss, might have played one of their best games of the year. And then I want to talk about the coaching matchup between Mike McDonald and Sean McVay. I got the guys that I want to have break this game down with this one. So I'll just say, first of all, that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you bet wins. You'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, let's start with initial reactions before we get going here. Chris Crawford, Seahawks loss. What do you think?
This is a weird combination of frustrating and encouraging to me. And let me be clear, it's like 95% frustrating and then 5% encouraging. And that'll probably change as we get deeper. I can't help it. I'm a reactionary guy. Yeah. And I think it's really important that we break down that we are not reacting to the Seahawks going forward. We are not reacting to the Seahawks in the previous weeks. We are reacting to today's game. So the things that we say are not about whether or not we believe in Sam Darnold going forward. It's not about whether or not we think that the wins ahead of time made this loss mean less. It's just about today's game. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I did it for the Mariner games. I'll do it for the Seahawks games. Because boy, oh boy, this offense was anemic for the overwhelming majority of this game. And it's so frustrating that your defense played that well and you're not able to win because you turn the ball over just far too many times and you only force the one. Like you go on the road, you have 4 turnovers. The other team has 1 turnover. It's a real big cliche, but it's a real big cliche for a reason. If you turn the ball over that much, you are not going to have a good time, especially against a team that is as good as the Rams. That being said, I thought the Seahawks looked like the better team for the overwhelming majority of this game. Like, I thought that the Seahawks there's nothing that I saw today that said, oh my goodness gracious, the Seahawks, there's no way they can beat the Rams. Heck no, especially playing at home. And now that the Seahawks can actually win games at home, it's still frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating to be the better team and still not come out with a W in what was one of the biggest regular season games of the last 2 or 3 years. It's still very frustrating, but a little bit encouraging that you were the better football team for the majority of it.
Yeah, I just it's tough. I agree with you, Chris, because I think you can take a lot of positives from this, to be honest. But we got Turbo dressed up to the nines. Let's go. What do you got for us? What's your initial thought on this game?
Yeah, I've got my Seahawks green tie on, what I'm saying, but it's also I don't know, maybe it's my I was gonna joke and say it was my funeral Seahawks suit, but it's not. I wouldn't take it that far. Look, at the end of the day, my thoughts are this, because Chris made a great and excuse me guys, I'm in studio and so you may hear some background noise, but Chris made a point when he said the Seahawks looked like the better team, and they still lost. It reminds me of the 49er game in week 1. Seahawks looked like the better team, but they still lost. Kind of reminded me of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where, man, the Seahawks looked really good, but they still lost. And so to me, when we talk about the top two teams in the NFC, when we talk about elite teams in the NFL overall, it doesn't matter how you look. What matters is, did you get it done at the end? And the story that continues to replay for Seattle is they get into these big games against teams that are qualified as elite.
Yep.
And they don't finish the job. And that is my reaction to today's game. It's a repetitive story with the Seahawks. And at some point, they'll get over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, right now, they are still not there. And we have to accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's completely fair. Rob Rang, what's your initial thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think that what Turbo just said basically is 100% spot on. It is maddeningly frustrating to be the better team and then still not make it happen when you have these opportunities. Whether even if Jason Myers had made that kick, I would be very nearly as frustrated by Sam Darnold, having 0 touchdowns, the 4 interceptions. Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, in this supposed battle of MVP caliber quarterbacks, throwing for 2 touchdowns. And how many times did Matthew Stafford throw the ball basically in the dirt or to the sidelines, or have the ball bounce out Devontae Adams' hands? But the point is that, through passes that basically only his pass catcher might be able to either catch or draw a penalty, or again, it basically results in another Rams punt, but it was not going to be a turnover.
Yes.
Whereas it felt like Sam Darnold, was just basically fighting, I think, his own past and trying to make the big play. And I thought that this was a game that, because Seattle was at least in a large part controlling the line of scrimmage on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, to run for 135 yards on this Rams defense. Again, I got to kind of tip my cap to the Seahawks, Clint Kubiak, as play caller. I thought that he did a nice job in this game. I love the way that Seattle again continues to kind of mix and match their running backs all to very effective way. I love the fact that AJ Barner was as big of a player in this game as he was. But I just thought that, look, Sam Darnold has gotten an awful lot of credit for Seattle's success. I think that he is going to get an awful lot of negative attention for this game. I think that he should, because I thought that there were just too many times where he tried to do too much, and that's the biggest reason why the Seahawks took it on the chin in this game. Yeah,
I just think in general, I don't. It's hard to say that a team looks better when you get 4 turnovers, but I guess that is the reason why, is because when you're moving the football still. I think the Seahawks outgained the Rams both in the air and on the ground, I want to say, too. And the defense was just outstanding today in multiple short fields. Again, I want to definitely talk about going forward on 4th down versus not, because I think that's a huge difference in this game, to be completely honest. So I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on that a little bit later as we talk about the coaching matchup. But I have a really hard time not saying that you lost this game because of Sam Darnold, like straight up. I think almost every other aspect of this game, the Seahawks did what they needed to do. The defense did its job. You could say Jason Myers too, I guess, technically. But it's hard, like Chris mentioned that thing at the top of the show, and he mentioned it before we went live. It's hard to really get that mad at a 61-yard field goal. I get it wasn't even close, but if it was a 30 or 40-yarder, then we can talk a little bit more about that you expect him to make. To me, that's not the reason you lost this game. You lost this game because of the 4 turnovers, straight up. And that's been the one bad thing about the Seahawks season so far. In terms of the eye test and the stats that we're looking at. You could say the running game hasn't been up to par, but it's been much better recently. It's been the turnovers. They are now -7 in the turnover battle on the season. So it's not just something that just happened today either. This has been kind of an underlying concern with this team for a long time. So I want to get the full breakdown on Sam Darnold in a little bit. I just want to kind of take big picture here in this first segment. The Seahawks are now 2-2 in the NFC West. 2 of their 3 losses this season have come to the NFC West. And I'm curious what you guys think, because this is going to be a situation, especially we saw how clean football the Rams play. They don't make very many mistakes. They're going to be there at the end of the year. And your record versus the division is going to be a big kind of key factor, especially if you're going to have a similar record and all those tie breaks and stuff. So, Chris, are we going to be able to turn this around come the second half, or, the second games that we play against the contenders and the Rams and the 49ers?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it'll be a little bit tougher having to go to Santa Clara, but I still think the Seahawks are a better team than them, even watching them play much better with Brock Purdy offensively, I think. But I really like looking at the schedule, the Seahawks' chances of still winning this division. Really do, because I think that they will get the dub at home against the Rams. They should have got the dub today. Let's just be honest. If 4 turnovers away from talking about the Seahawks taking not just control of the NFC West, but the NFC, have a clear path. That's one of the most frustrating things about this, is because if you can win this game, and ifs and buts, candy's nuts, I know, but if they could have just come out with this win, you're talking about controlling everything with a very, I think, favorable schedule coming up for the Seattle Seahawks. But yeah, I feel really confident. And that's the encouraging part that I mentioned, that the 5% encouraging, and maybe it's going up to 10 as I'm talking to it. And it'll probably be up to about 25 by the time I'm done today. It's just so frustrating to lose a game like this. But I feel very confident in this Seahawks team. At the same time, I will also say this: until they win the big one, I'm going to wonder if they can win the big one, right? Yeah. They have not beaten that great team yet. They have not had that moment, like Turbo mentioned brilliantly in his opening statement, that they have not come up with that big W. So that's my concern. But based on how I've seen this team play over the last 6 weeks or so, I'm absolutely confident in this team getting the division win, and probably getting a bye. Bye's a little tough now because there's only one, but I still feel very confident in the Seahawks having a long row ahead, and that's wonderful to say.
Turbo, I want your thoughts on the running game, because I think we're going to spend most of the next segment on Sam Darnold and what happened there. But so I just want to get initial thoughts on the rest of the offense / the running game. How did they look? Were you encouraged by, what you saw today? Because I think that's been something we've been wanting to see more of from the Seahawks recently.
I feel the same.
Okay.
I feel the same as I've always done. They had a good game on the ground today. And that's that. I mean, you're always encouraged by a good game.
Right.
That doesn't mean that all of a sudden all the problems that are fixed.
Yeah.
In the run game, they had a good game today. Kenneth Walker had a good game today, and it's been a little bit, since we've seen him consistently be able to find lanes and break tackles and bust for big yardage, and he was able to do that in this game. The offensive line did a nice job, but he individually, I think, just did a nice job making guys miss, being decisive and breaking tackles. But, it has to follow up week after week. And so for me, I don't all of a sudden look at one good game and say, oh my gosh, I'm tremendously encouraged by it. I'm excited that they had a good showing, but to me, I start to feel better when I see it 3-4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And when I see it against, the elite teams. Yeah. Consistently, and the fact that hasn't been there, that's why I feel that I'm glad he had a good game, and it was a huge part of the reason why the Seahawks had a chance to win it at the end. But I still feel the same overall about the run game.
All right, Rob, we're going to talk turnovers and Sam Darnold next segment, but I want to get your thoughts from a general perspective on the offense, especially in the red zone. I think you could say two things about the reason the Seahawks lost this game. It's because of red zone inefficiency and turnovers. So we'll talk about the red zone now. So I'm curious what happened. I know the Rams have a good defense, and they talked about it on the broadcast. They're good at bending but not breaking and making sure you get field goals and not touchdowns. But it just seems like that was something that we're not used to seeing the Seahawks offense struggle to get the ball in the end zone. So what are your thoughts on the red zone inefficiency today?
Yeah, honestly, that's what pissed me off the most. Just because I thought that's the turnovers, as we've talked about. I mean, this is no new story here. Seattle struggled with turnovers the entire season, but they have been very efficient in the red zone. The improved running game has been a part of that. The play of the tight ends has been a part of that, which again was part of the reason why I was so frustrated. I mean, AJ Barner catches, I believe it was 9 passes in this game. It might have been 10, but he wasn't a factor in the red zone.
Yeah, right.
Same thing with Elijah Arroyo. And so, again, I thought that what's the point of having Cooper Kupp? His greatest strength is down there in the red zone. And for Seattle not to target him down there was just maddening to me. It's not like the Rams, and I'm eager to watch the all 22 and confirm this, but in just watching it live, it didn't feel like the Rams sent a great deal of exotic blitzes or anything. It just felt like they wanted more when things got tight. And Seattle's defense, again, Seattle's defense was terrific. We're going to be talking a lot about them as well. So when I congratulate the Rams defense for bowing up when it was pressure, the Seahawks defense played it terrific almost the entire game. So I certainly don't mean any disrespect to Seattle's defense, but that to me was, again, the most frustrating aspect of this. Is I just thought that the opportunity was there for Sam Darnold and the Seahawks to get some points because they were in the red zone as many times as they were, and to be held without a touchdown until basically the garbage time at the very end, where the Rams are playing prevent defense half of the way down the field.
Right.
Then again, that to me was the biggest reason why Seattle didn't get this victory. And one last thing on the running game, Chris Crawford's kind of his optimism about where Seattle is going. I mean, I was very optimistic in the beginning of this season. You guys, might recall. At the same time, I'm less encouraged now with Gray Zabel going down.
Yes.
If that is a significant injury, and all signs suggest that it could be, then that could just throw everything else down the free. I mean, we of course watched this football game, and it was broadcast by my buddies at Fox. And they kept showing their commercial for one of their TV shows, Fear Factor. Sam Darnold's Fear Factor. It's not Johnny Knoxville screaming at him. It's an offensive line that has Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford at the guard spots. And so again, I do think that is a significant storyline. And so to me, again, it's not the loss. It's not even Sam Darnold's turnovers that frustrated me the most. It was the inability to score when you had opportunities in the red zone. And then again, the possibility that your prize first round pick might be on the shelf for who knows how long. That to me is where this game is the most frustrating.
Yeah, we do have an update. Go ahead, Turbo.
I was going to say, if I could follow up on that real quick. When I say I feel the same about the run game, I just want to remind everybody, I've always felt good about the run game.
Yes.
Because it's not about the numbers.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about the numbers for me. It's about the impact. The run game has always been impactful. That's why our play action game has been good.
Yes.
The numbers were a lot better today, but it doesn't change my feeling. I've always felt good about the run game.
Yep. You've always been a strong proponent, even when the results weren't necessarily there. It's a process versus results thing, as me and Chris like to say. So and it's true. Really quick, Chris, we have an update on Gray Zabel, and the update is no update. They need to get him with some imaging, so we'll probably find out sometime tomorrow or Monday, tomorrow or Tuesday, something like that, depending on how long they get. But I agree with Rob. It's not a good sign. We'll take a quick break.
Wait, one quick thing, just because we may not get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
The clock management at the end of the game was also awful tonight. It was awful. They took so long to get into sets after short, complete passes. And I wonder if some of that, Greg Olsen brought up the fact that maybe Shaheed wasn't particularly familiar with some of the stuff that was happening there. I think that's a little bit of a bad excuse, if I'm being honest with you. I think, and then particularly one of my least favorite plays, and we'll talk about Darnold in a sec, that rollout that takes like 7 seconds and you throw just a little 8-yard throw that ends up being incomplete anyway. That can't happen. That cannot. We can talk about that but I just, in case I didn't bring it up, the clock management today was awful.
Yeah. And that's a good segue, because we're going to lead in. We've held it off long enough. We're going to have a big conversation on 14. Bad game, really bad game. Is it a sign that you're starting to get worried about him for the rest of the season? Did the Seahawks lose this game solely because of Sam Darnold? That's a question mark. How much of it was him versus the pressure that he was getting, especially after his left guard goes down? I saw a couple plays where, and he had a backup center in there as well. Let's not forget. Oluwatimi was getting pushed into Sam Darnold instantly a lot. So how much of it was the pressure? How much of it was Sam Darnold's decision-making? It's probably a combination of both, but I want to get the experts' thoughts on this. After the break here on the Seahawks Squad Show, Seahawks lose this one 21-19. We will be right back. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. The setup's super easy. You keep your number and then you're up and running in minutes. If you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time new customer offer for just 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint for details. All right, welcome back to Seahawks Squad Show. Turbo has left us. Just if you guys saw, he was kind of getting ready to go on TV. I guess we're not big time enough for him, but that's all right. We got at least one segment of Robert Turbin, which I was interested to see what he thought about the running game. Seems like a steady, strong and steady. Keep it going. And I agree with what he's saying. It's more of a process versus results kind of thing. But the big story today, guys, is Sam Darnold because, I'm just going to ask you straight up. Did the Seahawks lose this game solely because of their quarterback, Chris Crawford?
Probably. I mean, I don't like it, but probably. It's frustrating too. It starts out okay, and Cooper Kupp almost makes a wonderful play. I'm still honestly not 100% sure that wasn't a touchdown. It is what it is, and it doesn't excuse the rest of the play. But, and again, I want to make it abundantly clear that I'm not talking about Sam Darnold the previous 10 weeks. I'm not talking about Sam Darnold in his very famous failures in the past. I'm just talking about today, and there were some really bad throws today. The first interception, basically a fadeaway jumper that he's trying to fit between defenders. That's a bad throw. He gets hit on the second one, but it's still not a great throw. The third one is awful. The fourth one is inexcusable, and he should have had a fifth. There should have been a fifth pick there as well. And what concerned me the most was that Sam Darnold was pressured on over 50% of his throws in the second half. And Greg Olsen, again, made a great point that it was only like 12 in the first half, and then it went way, way up. But I also think Sam Darnold created some of those pressures in getting out of his footwork and scrambling when scrambling wasn't really necessary. One of my favorite things that Sam Darnold has done this year is stepped up in the pocket and made the big throws to JSN, to AJ Barner, to whoever. That just didn't happen today. His footwork was all over the place. And I'm an idiot, guys. If I'm seeing that the footwork is bad, it's bad, right? It's not good that I am noticing that this guy is hopping like Judy Hopps in Zootopia, man. Like, this is not a good look, man. He played awful. And if they got an average game from Sam Darnold today, I think you win. Is it all of his fault that they only score the one touchdown in those chances when they get into the red zone? No, I don't think so. And there were some really good pressures from the Rams. And as Rob pointed out, it wasn't like fancy blitzes. They just got to him. The offensive line deserves some blame here too, for sure. Anthony Bradford, I am not your best friend. It's just hard to watch. It's just really, really hard to watch. And, Nick Collar up a hold that didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
It takes away a touchdown. That hold did not need to happen. It was clear. Then the ref's standing like right by it. So they're obviously going to call that. So there's all that stuff. But you can't turn the football over 4 times. You can't. Even if one of the interceptions, and I wanted to ask Rob about this one particularly, it does look like Elijah Arroyo probably should have cut that route off and cut through. That's the one interception that you can go, that's some communication issues. Sam Darnold also looked really upset with himself when he threw the football, so I'm not 100% sure that's what's going on there. But for the most part, the overwhelming majority of the game, Sam Darnold was well below average quarterback, doesn't even begin to describe it, and it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I'd argue that even if you got a bad Sam Darnold performance
maybe
today, you could have still won because it was catastrophic, Rob Rang. Did they lose solely because of 14?
I would struggle with the idea of solely,
Okay.
but I definitely think that that if they get average quarterback play, that they win this game, and perhaps it's not even close.
Yeah.
I just really thought that, and who's to say? I mean, I have such great respect for Sean McVay and what he does with the Rams that maybe they get a little bit more aggressive with their play calling. I think that this is the kind of game that they anticipated, and that they when they realized that Sam Darnold was basically just kind of struggling as much as he was, then why get more aggressive? Try and control the game. So I do struggle with that idea. But Chris asked a question as well about the interception thrown to Elijah Arroyo. Yeah, I just think that the rookie tight end there needs to understand what's going on.
Yep.
Has to try to put himself in a better position to at least have that big, broad body between himself and the defender when the possibility of the ball is being thrown his way. And I don't think that he did that. Ultimately, of course, Sam Darnold throws the ball. And I thought that he put the ball in harm's way. And that is, you can't be late across the middle. And that was like what he did multiple times in this game. Frankly, I thought Seattle got lucky. I thought that was a fumble, in my opinion, when the ball was knocked out of Sam Darnold's hand. I mean, it was, I guess, coming forward, but to me, that was a bang, bang kind of a play. And they called it initially a fumble. For them to overrule that and change it shocked me. So I thought that he kind of got away with one there. But even early on, and you mentioned Greg Olsen, Chris, and I thought that he had one of his best games as a color commentator. I know that he's kind of a polarizing
I really like him
for a lot of people. I like him as well. I thought that he made a very astute observation early in the game where there was it was an important drive. The Rams had gone up 14-3, and Seattle threw the ball. I believe it was a fourth down, or maybe it was a third down, but it was a heck of a catch by Zach Charbonnet, of all people. Even that, I thought, was kind of a poor throw by Sam Darnold. I just thought that he looked off essentially the entire game.
Yeah.
There's so many games this year, guys. We've basically been able to kind of just marvel at the pinpoint accuracy of Sam Darnold. There wasn't a single throw in this game where I thought, wow, that is a Pro Bowl caliber throw from a quarterback. It felt like the ball was coming out of his hand weird. I mean, even some of the throws that weren't tipped at the line of scrimmage, and there was a lot of them. To me, that suggests that he is staring down his primary target. And the defensive players at the line of scrimmage are getting their hands up in the air. I mean, for guys like Poona Ford, who is 5'11", to get his hands up in the air and be able to knock down passes, again, for a quarterback who's 6'3.5", that just shouldn't happen very often. And so that, again, was one of the areas that I was just very frustrated this game, because I just felt like that even average quarterback play really puts you in position to win this game.
So Anderson, real quick. We can get into the Gray Zabel stuff. The worst throw I thought that Sam Darnold made today wasn't actually an interception. He has Rashid Shaheed streaking for a touchdown. And look, Forbes makes a nice play knocking that ball out.
Yep.
That ball is super underthrown. If you lead him accurately, and this is one of those things where it's like tough to be too hard on him, because I don't think Sam Darnold's prowess, athletic abilities, arm strength can be questioned too much. But that's a bad miss. That's a really bad miss. And I thought Greg Olsen brought it up immediately, that ball's underthrown. That is an underthrown ball. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a good play by Forbes, knocking it away, showing the good timing there. But if that's a good throw on the line, that's a walk-in touchdown for Rashid Shaheed. That's what frustrates me too, is that, and that play ends up, if you make that play, you win this football game. There's a bunch of one play wins this football game, but that throw to Shaheed down the sideline was just awful.
It was sorry to cut you off. It was a scared throw. It was like he didn't have the confidence just to let it rip the way that he's been letting it rip all year long. And so again, that to me is one of my biggest concerns moving forward. I really think that this is a Seahawks team that is built to go deep into the postseason, perhaps even make a Super Bowl run. But obviously, if your quarterback doesn't have that ability to shine in the spotlight, then again, that could be the the kryptonite that can put this team down. And so again, that to me is one of the most frightening things about this. And I'll put myself out there in that I always thought that was one of the things that made Sam Darnold potentially special. Is as I believe it was a redshirt sophomore in I believe it was the Rose Bowl game against Penn State, if memory serves correctly, where he was absolutely fantastic in that football game. I thought, my goodness, to have that kind of poise that young, this guy is going to be special. But we have not seen very many times since where Sam Darnold has risen to the moment. And so until he does so, that is going to be a question mark around him.
Man, there's so much to get to. I almost want to go another segment with this, but I still want to talk about the defense a little bit. So we'll go a little bit long here. I first want to ask really quick, what is it about this team? Because the last time he played the Rams, it was a similar situation. Last game of the season with the Vikings. I don't know what it is. Maybe Sean McVay knows exactly how to play against these types of quarterbacks. Maybe it's just their guys up front are that good. I don't know. Chris, what is it about the Rams that Sam Darnold just can't get over?
Boy, I don't know. I got to give a ton of credit to Chris Shula. I mean, that guy is going to be a head coach someday, I think, and did a really nice job. But I think it's honestly the thing that you can point to is teams that can get pressure with 4 are going to give Sam Darnold trouble. If you can get there, I trust Sam Darnold to be able to diagnose if you're blitzing and to be as athletic enough to get out of the pocket and to make some plays. But when it's 4, and I'm not going to use the whole ghost thing, even though I guess just by saying it, I'm doing the whole ghost thing. But I think he struggles sometimes when there's 4 in his face, when there is a chance for pressure from those interior linemen. I do think that there have been enough issues, and we have a large enough sample size of Sam Darnold's career. By the way, Rob, I pulled up the USC Penn State box score while you were talking. That game was just so much fun. Saquon Barkley for 194 yards, but I call him Sam Bradford once every show. Sam Darnold, 5 touchdowns in that game. Yeah. Bryce Wu, Brian Miller. It's frustrating because all the talent's there. And I'm not going to say something silly like that he can't do it. It's impossible for him to do it. But there are at least question marks. Yeah. There are question marks about whether or not this guy is good enough. And this is what I talked about when that trade initially happened, where it was basically, for lack of all intents and purposes, Sam Darnold for Geno Smith. You got the higher ceiling in Sam Darnold. There's no question about it. Did you get the higher floor? I don't think you did. And I think we saw today that floor for Sam Darnold, it's basically a basement.
Rob, what is it about the Rams?
I don't know that it's the Rams. I mean, I think, with all due respect, the team that their general manager Les Snead has created, and Sean McVay, Chris Shula. I love that you highlighted the defensive coordinator. They're all brilliant at what they do. They're all going places. Obviously, McVay and Snead already have Super Bowl victories. But I just think that the ability to get pressure on the quarterback with just the 4. You have some sticky man-to-man cover corners. You have, as they mentioned on the broadcast, the best tackling team in all of the NFL. That was one of the other things that was a little bit frustrating. And we're going to be talking about defense here in a moment, so I don't want to get too much into this. But, that was one of the things that did frustrate me a little bit about the Seahawks on defense, is that there were so many missed tackles, whereas it felt like every time the Rams' first defender basically got the Seahawks ball carried to the ground. And so I do think that that Sam Darnold, maybe the moment got to him a little bit. I just think that it's a quality Rams defense. I think the same thing might be the case if should the Seahawks play the Philadelphia Eagles or another team that's got a fearsome front, that it's going to be a struggle. But I don't think that Sam Darnold is unique in that regard. I don't think that he is, gonna shrink in the spotlight every opportunity. I think that, hey, they got to give the defense some credit too, and that and he has won some big games as well. And so I do think that that you just gotta, the more opportunities you have in these type of situations, the better he's likely to get at this. But I do think that, again, it is concerning about if Seattle was unable to slow down that Rams front when they were relatively healthy offensive line. What might that look like without Gray Zabel? If Cooper Kupp wasn't able to have a game, a very productive game when they literally are showing a video of him up on the Jumbotron and all that kind of stuff, and acknowledging the impact that he had for the Los Angeles Rams, then when is he going to be able to make those kind of plays for you? And while I was very excited about what Clint Kubiak did as far as the play caller in this game, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Rashid Shaheed. And I know that it's only game 2, but the fact that they had him out there for one time in the backfield, we saw Puka Nacua would very effectively run these jet sweeps. Why weren't we seeing more Rashid Shaheed in that regard? So I think that there's, I don't want to just put all the blame on Sam Darnold. I want to kind of spread it out, because when you only score one touchdown, and again, it was in the last couple of minutes of a football game, then I think that there's plenty of blame to be spread around.
Yeah, I like the evaluation that Turbo had at the top of the show, where it reminded him a lot of the San Francisco 49ers game. And the more I think about it, the more I agree with that, to be completely honest, where when you play against a team that doesn't make very many mistakes, I think the Seahawks, the reason why they're so good against the bad teams is they are very good at capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. And that's not just turnovers, because I know we were kind of minus in the turnover battle. That's missed opportunities on deep balls, penalties to get to 3rd and long so you can kind of pin your ears back and rush the quarterback. So there's a lot of other ways to make mistakes besides committing turnovers. And the Seahawks are really good at pouncing on those mistakes and taking advantage of them. And when you play against a team that's really clean, doesn't make mistakes, I think that the LA Rams, the classic example of that, because like we mentioned with Matthew Stafford, when he doesn't have it, he's just going to put the feet of his receiver, make sure he doesn't make a mistake, punt it away, and get the ball back later. So it seems like the Seahawks do struggle against teams that play clean football. And they don't even have to run them out of the field in terms of, the explosive offenses or terrorizing defenses. It's just you don't make mistakes. And that's the biggest thing that I noticed, the difference between the Rams and the Seahawks in this game. All right, let's come back. Let's talk about a little bit positive because while it is a frustrating game, a divisional loss, Seahawks lose 21-19 to the LA Rams and fall to 7-3 on the season. There are a lot of positives to take from this game, and most of it are on the defensive side of the ball. But first, on the other side of this break, I want to ask the big question. We kind of alluded to it a couple times. Do you have any reservations about Sam Darnold the rest of this season? We've done the evaluation for this game specifically. Now let's look forward to the rest of this season and beyond if you guys want to. Do you have different feelings of it? Is this just one bad game? You can be like, all right, just throw it away. We're all good to go. Or is there something that you saw today that is like, he may not be the guy that I thought he was? So we'll talk about that next, and then we'll talk some defense here on the other side of the Seahawks Squad Show. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you. I appreciate FanDuel for sponsoring today's show. Thank you to you guys for hopping on with us. I always love getting your guys' perspective. Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, Anderson Hurst with you. We had Turbo earlier, but he had to leave us for bigger and better things, I guess. But you guys are stuck with us. So I alluded to it right before our break there. I want to do one last question on Sam Darnold, then we can move forward defensively. From what you saw today, do you have reservations about him moving forward? Not even like after the season, kind of evaluating him as a quarterback of the future. Just like, is he a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl with this team? Like, that's all I'll say. It doesn't mean he has to be the top 5. What can he win a Super Bowl in Seattle if everything else goes right, Chris Crawford?
Not right now. I don't think that the run game is good enough. I don't think that the supplementary pieces are good enough. But do I think that with some additions that the Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl someday? Yeah. I don't think based on even the good that I saw from this year, I have some question marks about whether the Seahawks are good enough to win a Super Bowl. To get there, to get to a conference championship game, I think that's more realistic to me.
Okay.
But, I think you need more pieces around him. Today was bad. Today was really bad. And it doesn't, again, you can't just completely ignore the good. The Seahawks are nowhere near where they are with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. And if they got the same play that Geno Smith has given the Raiders this year for the Seahawks this year, you're talking about a 4-7 football team, 5-6, I think at best. So credit where credit is due, but also I do think that today was an example of why I'm so concerned about the floor of Sam Darnold. No doubts about the ceiling. That guy can throw the football with the best of them, but he makes too many silly mistakes for me to believe that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback unless you have well above average pieces around him. And I think they just have above average pieces around him right now.
Rob, is it just one bad game, or are you concerned moving forward?
Well, I think that I definitely have some concerns moving forward, but it's not necessarily that this one game has changed my opinion of Sam Darnold. I still think that he is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Of course, we've seen some quarterbacks win Super Bowls that aren't exactly the most dominant players. I mean, we saw Nick Foles win a Super Bowl, Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl. That said, I don't think that Sam Darnold was ever really a legitimate MVP guy. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Matthew Stafford. He's not Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. But at the same time, I don't think that you have to be to win a Super Bowl. I do think that Seattle has enough tools, if healthy. Again, I keep mentioning the Gray Zabel factor, and it's crazy to be mentioning a rookie guard as having that type of an impact. But I just think that similar to Chris's talk about floor ceiling, I think that the floor of Seattle's offensive line could absolutely drop through the damn basement.
Crater,
to have if you don't have the standard starting 5, because I think that Oluwatimi has played fairly well in Jalen Sandela's absence. And if they lose one of the tackles, or again, a guard who is playing at, in my opinion, a Pro Bowl level, even as a rookie, then again, I think that could make a significant impact. To me, what it comes down to is Sam Darnold is, again, can he improve on this game? I'm very curious to see how he performs in the next couple of games, especially the next games that are going to be on the road. Just because of the fact that, Seattle was getting so much praise. I mean, oh my goodness. It seemed like everywhere you went, every national outlet there was just, throwing Seattle these roses before this football game. And I just thought that was dangerous, because the Los Angeles Rams have done it before. To me, they were much more the proven commodity. So I wasn't, I basically predicted that they were going to lose this football game. I'm curious to see if Sam Darnold can take the criticism that he is now going to get and turn it around. Play angry. Play how some guys, when they get angry, they play better, and others, it gets into their head and they fall apart. That to me is where it's going to be really interesting to see how Sam Darnold and the Seahawks as a whole respond, because we've seen Sam Darnold take some shots and struggle at times, but I'm not sure that he's ever had the caliber of defense and coaching that he now has with this team. And so does this squad really develop the mentality that Mike McDonald has shown, where he is just stubborn and determined and I think confident and resolute in what he wants to do? Or does this start to show some of the cracks in the foundation of this squad, and they have to have a real plan at the quarterback position moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's a question we can monitor moving forward. I tend to side closer to it's one bad game, and I still believe the majority of what we've seen from this season more than what we saw today. But there were some alarming things that when you play against good teams, you can't have those types of performances. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on moving forward. I know we've put it off a long time. But let's talk about the defense. It was just fantastic today. It's weird to think in a loss where you gave up 21 points that this might have been the best defensive performance of the season, especially considering the opponent. I know you probably have had more dominant performances, but against a really good offense, they didn't really get anything going. And 2 of their touchdowns came on extremely short fields after turnovers. I just think the defense did absolutely everything it could have done today to get the win. And it sucks that they weren't able to get it, and they deserved better. So, Chris, go take this whatever direction you want. Just talk about the defense.
They were so good today. They were so good, and it's such a shame that they didn't get that bad offensive performance that I think leads to the win the more I think about it. And now my encouraging level is 80-20. It's going up. I told you it's going to go up as we keep doing this. I thought they were awesome. There were a couple of plays that really frustrated me. The long run from Kyron Williams where you kind of just get blown up in the middle. That was very frustrating. Ty Okada, another great point I think made by Greg Olsen. The coverage was really good there. The tackling there was awful. Like that can't happen.
Greg Olsen loved best here on Locked On
Yeah, absolutely. He made it was good coverage. You got to make that tackle. And if you make that tackle, there's a very good chance you hold them to a field goal. And what are we talking about here if you hold them to a field goal there? But otherwise, the defense was fantastic. I want to particularly shout out everyone's favorite whipping boy, Tariq Woolen, who I thought Tariq Woolen was awesome today. He did a fantastic job, particularly when he was covering Davante Adams, and Davante Adams looked frustrated. I know he gets the touchdown, but you could tell that he thought, I can beat this guy. I can really beat this guy. I've read the coverage. I've read about how this guy is going to need to change teams. I think outside of week 1 and maybe a couple of other plays, Tariq Woolen's been a well above average cornerback and far from an issue. Kobe Bryant was awesome. The punch out of that fumble on Puka, his first ever fumble, that was absolutely perfectly played at a massive moment because it comes right after the interception. This defense was awesome. This was, if it wasn't their best defensive effort, it's right up there. And it's only not their best defensive effort because they've had some absolute terrific efforts all year long. It's just a shame that it doesn't come with a win. It's a moral victory for the defense, which sucks.
Yeah, and I agree with you on Reek Woolen because after he got cooked for that Davante Adams touchdown on the goal line, which I think almost anyone gets cooked on that in that position. Davante Adams is a really good route runner. He was locked down for the rest of this game, and I know it's been a while since you've been with us, Chris, but we've been singing his praises for the past couple weeks. He's looked so much better. Rob has been the first one to tell you because he is Mr. Reek Woolen. Shall I say? I don't want to say defender, but just like truther, I should say. Yes. Rob, what do you think about the defense? You can take this any way you want.
Yeah, I think that basically just echoing what Chris said. The fact that that the whole Matthew Stafford to 15 completions, 7 of those 15 are to Puka Nacua, and almost all of those are short. Yes. And those that are intermediate were oftentimes just some beautifully thrown balls by Matthew Stafford. Where again, as we talked about, it was just either his guy was going to come with catch the ball, or nobody was going to catch the ball. Yep. Reek Woolen. To Chris's point before about Reek Woolen, and he was not always matched up on Davante Adams, but a lot of that. And I think that Davante Adams clearly was hampered by the oblique. I mean, there was a couple of balls there that I thought that he normally would have caught, but at the same time, I think that the lack of practice time between he and Matthew Stafford this week was evident in this game. And is again one of the more frustrating things about this, because it just felt like you had this opportunity. The Rams weren't playing very well either. But again, with Davante Adams having 8 targets and getting 1 catch, that 1-yard touchdown, and that was it. Again, Davante Adams leads the NFL with 10 touchdown receptions in 10 games. I mean, he has been spectacular for the Rams this season. For you to basically shut him down, again, just kind of showed that the Rams are a squad that has some real Achilles heels as well. So I love the fact that the Seattle, while they didn't get any sacks in this football game, at the same time, they had pressure consistently on Matthew Stafford. They put him on the ground a couple of times. You could see some marks on his arms where he physically was kind of beaten up. He wasn't looking to the sideline and doing his little, look at me kind of moves and feeling so good. So that's one of the reasons why I am optimistic. Maybe it's just Chris's numbers as they keep jumping up as far as optimism.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you're going to face the same team, and it's going to be at Lumen Field. And I would not be surprised because, in my opinion, these are two of the absolute elite teams in the NFC. I think there's a good chance that you meet this team a third time in the playoffs. And so that's why I'm not that concerned about the fact that Seattle lost this game. Now, again, if there are significant injuries out of this game, then I am concerned. But at the same time, if this is the one, I think that it's very, very difficult in the NFL to beat a team 3 times. And I think there's a good chance that Seattle beats LA in Seattle when they play next. And if you get to the postseason, again, my money's going to be on the Seahawks just because I thought that they outplayed the Rams in so many different ways in this football game. And I am just banking on Mike McDonald, on Clint Kubiak, and yes, on Sam Darnold, having a little bit of payback mentality rather than going into a shell over the last couple of months of the season.
Can I tell you the one concern I have about that game being at home, though? The Seahawks are going to wear the ugliest uniforms ever designed by mankind, and I'm not sure if you get a home field advantage when you're wearing Oregon Duck uniforms at home. That's my biggest concern. They're freaking awful. They are embarrassing. I cannot wait for this to be a one-time thing. If they ever wear those uniforms again, I am going to start a riot.
Okay. On that note, I have the quote of the year from Ernest Jones in the post game. He says this loss isn't all on Sam Darnold, and he's still a big believer in Sam despite 4 INTs today. He's our quarterback. We've got his back. If you've got anything to say, quite frankly, F you. That's Ernest Jones talking about his quarterback.
Good for you, Ernest. And I don't blame him.
I
don't blame him.
And it was great to see him back on the field today as well.
No doubt.
So that was a big positive for Seattle. They are getting healthier and less healthy at the same time? Question mark.
Yeah.
Really hoping for good news on the Grays-Able front because I think that's a huge stepping stone moving forward. All right, this is a topic I've been meaning to ask you guys about for a long time, and we'll take a few minutes here on the other side of the break. I want to talk about the coaching matchup because I think for so long we saw Sean McVay outcoach Seattle coaches, whether it was Pete Carroll, even last year in the first year, Mike McDonald. I was really hoping that we would get kind of the Mike McDonald that he was kind of brought in to beat Sean McVay, beat Kyle Shanahan. So far, he's 0-2 against them. So this year, at least. So, and sometimes it boils down to be that simple. I don't know why, but that's just the way football works sometimes. I want to ask you guys about that. I have questions about, the mentalities of each one and how they slightly differ from one another. Obviously, one being offensive-minded, one being defensive-minded. And I'm curious about what you guys think on that. We'll get to that here really quick on the Seahawks Squad Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you. Seahawks lose 21-19 to fall to 7-3 on the season after the loss versus the LA Rams. As I mentioned previously, I really want to talk about this coaching matchup because I think for so long we looked at this matchup thinking these teams mirrored each other, good defenses, good head coaches, good quarterbacks. I think defense is probably on par with how they were playing each other. Definitely quarterback at the edge to Matthew Stafford, not even because he went nuclear today or anything like that. It's just because he didn't make mistakes like Sam Darnold did. And I think that's the biggest difference between those two quarterbacks at this point in time. They can both have those really big days, but Matthew Stafford is the kind of guy that just when it's not there, don't make mistakes, make it hard on the other team to win. And that's what really good quarterbacks do. So now let's talk about the coaching matchup because there can be some people that think if you look at it kind of just from a box score perspective or you just kind of from 30,000 feet say, well, Sam Darnold, 4 turnovers. Mike McDonald did his job. Defense did his job. Everything works well. I have something to say about that personally. I think and we've talked a lot about maybe 1 or 2 plays that could go one way and the Seahawks win this game, whether it's the Jason Myers field goal, one of the turnovers from Sam Darnold, or give it a shot in the red zone on 4th down. Go for it. Please, please stop kicking field goals. Greg Olsen, and I'm not a big Greg Olsen fan. I've been biting my tongue a little bit, but he mentioned it a couple times. You're not going to kick 4 field goals and win against good teams. That's just not what happens. And I totally agree with them. They need to go for it more, especially in the red zone. But it just was a too conservative play call. And that's not even play calling. That's coaching decision game from Mike Macdonald today. I get it. He's a defensive guy. He wants to win with that side of the ball. But I'm just curious, general perspective, if you want to go on that front or anywhere else in the coaching front, Chris Crawford, how do you think he matched up with Sean McVay today?
I think he did fine. Now, I totally agree that there was not enough aggressiveness and that, like on 4th and 3 there to end the half, I would have gone for it, especially with the Seahawks getting the ball to start the second half. That's why I think I would have gone there. If they would have been playing defense to start, I'm probably taking the 3 and then just hoping my defense gets me the football back, especially with how well they had played in that first half. And in particular, he can't know for sure, but they were so good in the second half. It makes a little bit of hindsight here. But I think that one of the things is Sean McVay is an offensive mind, right? Well, sure. I think the Seahawks defense was more than capable of handling that stuff. I guess my concern would be more on the offensive scheme side of things because they just didn't fool the Rams whatsoever. It wasn't like there were some good holes, and I think like Rob mentioned it earlier that, that they did a nice job with the cutbacks and all of that stuff, but there was nothing like really that fooled the Rams. And I'm not asking for like razzle dazzle, a whole bunch of trickeration. I want to see more of that with Shaheed. That's one of the reasons I think you bring him in here is that you want that speed going, not just north-south. You want some east-west with that guy because he can get north-south real quick after going east-west. But I don't think that they got classically out-coached. I do think there are times where Mike Macdonald needs to be more assertive. And I'm not going aggressive. I'm just going assertive. Like, if you really believe in your defense, then it's okay to go for it in those situations because you're asking them to go 85 yards, And
that's my whole argument. Let me just jump in really quick.
Please.
Because everyone would kind of, I think, draw the conclusion, okay, if you're a defensive conservative head coach, you're going to kick the field goal and just let your defense get you the ball back. I would think that there should be, and it's calculated aggression as well. It's not just going for it every single time, but there should be like a confidence that hey, if we miss this, our defense is going to get the ball back. We're getting another chance to do it anyway. I'd rather get the 7 points than the 3. And especially because you're giving them a longer field with the kickoff rules and everything. They're starting on the 35, 30-yard line now on average. So I don't know. To me, I almost think defensive-minded head coaches should go for it more if that's what you really believe in your side of the ball to be able to get the ball back for your offense, especially if you're deep in the red zone. Rob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you guys have convinced me. I've always subscribed more to a defensive mentality, kind of old school, and kick the damn field goal and still points. If your defense is playing that well, then, I just keep inching your way closer. This is a hostile environment against a team you have a great deal of respect for. Just give yourself a chance to win it at the very end. That's always been my mentality. However, I do think that what you guys are saying here makes an awful lot of sense. And we do live in a different era of football. And, to go for it in those, especially right before halftime. I think that it is making a statement about your confidence in your quarterback, who I think at that moment maybe needed a little bit of confidence. And, again, hindsight's 2020. I mean, he didn't know that Darnold was going to continue to struggle in the second half. Perhaps even more so than he did in the first half. But I thought that if you do decide to go for it at that point, if, in the same vein, not at the quarterback position necessarily, but with A.J. Barner on these little Seahawks scrums, as I've been calling them, the one time where it didn't work, it looked like it was not going to work. The Rams had clearly loaded up, and then Seattle actually kind of
they ran out of it. It was weird. They didn't do the tush push.
Exactly. They sent the tight ends going out. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to be, play deceptive at that point, then have A.J. Barner throw a little quick pop pass to one of the tight ends. I mean, to me, it was there were some plays that I thought that Seattle could have been a little bit more assertive and aggressive. That had put them in a better position to kind of control the game rather or to. I just felt like Seattle was trying to kind of manage the game rather than seize it. And
Yeah.
that to me is if you are going to have a defensive mentality, then there's going to be moments where you do have to seize it. You do have to be the aggressor. And on a quick side note, having gone to training camps with the Seahawks as well as with the Rams, and just seeing the way that Mike Macdonald coaches, the way that Sean McVay coaches, Mike Macdonald is so stern. He's so buttoned up. I mean, you very rarely see him smile. Sean McVay is the exact opposite of that. I mean, I watched him. The Rams were playing the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys actually were hosting the Rams in Oxnard, California at their training camp. And there were a couple of great plays by Dallas Cowboys players. And Sean McVay would run out into the field and highlight the Dallas Cowboys players.
Yeah.
And just he coaches with such enthusiasm and excitement.
So
I think that a lot of his players on both on his team and on other teams would just naturally gravitate like, wow, I want to play for this guy just because I love his enthusiasm. So they are just very different coaches. Now, obviously, one guy's got a Super Bowl victory and the other guy does not yet. But at the same time, they couldn't be more different. It's not just offensive and defense and smiles or grimaces. They just are wired completely differently. And I'm very curious to see what happens the next time these two teams battle. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, I think he coaches his team to be excited to make plays instead of afraid to make mistakes. I think it is like a little bit more. It's being aggressive, but also just like, go do what you're supposed to do. I'm going to put you in the right position to succeed. And then you're the one that's going to go make the play. I know this is Seahawks squad show here. 21-19 Seahawks victory. I don't want to be the nerd here. But going back to the going for it on fourth down. And again, this is not a you go for it every time situation. If the Seahawks had gone, they had 4 red zone field goals. If they had gone for it on all 4 of those situations, they scored 12 points, obviously, because they made all 4 of them. If you had made it twice, just twice, 50% conversion rate, that's a 14 point versus 12 points. Yeah. And that's the difference in this game right now.
Sure.
And especially if Sean McVay does the opposite, right? Maybe he instead, because he did that exact same thing. He went for it twice and was 2 for 4. Or sorry, he went for it 3 times. It was 2 for 3. So it's just one of those situations where that's where a lot of the quote unquote analytics come into play. But you have to know your team a little bit. I'm not saying that I know him more than Mike Macdonald does, but I would think a defensive minded head coach has the confidence to stop, an offense that you've bottled up pretty well from going 90 whatever yards. I do have a quick update for Seattle sports fans. It looks like Josh Naylor is signing with the Mariners. I know this is Seahawks, Locked On Seahawks, 5-year deal. It's the first big deal of the season. Check out Locked On
he could
Mariners.
Play left guard. I think Josh Naylor could definitely play left guard.
Tenacity that Mike Macdonald wants. So
oh my goodness gracious, does he ever? And he's a big beefy boy. We love our triple B's.
Beefy boy, triple B's.
We love our triple B's. One of the things I was totally forgot about, by the way, was, boy, I really hate this play call now. I think it was the final drive. It's 3rd and goal from like the 6, or no, it's 2nd and goal, I believe, from like the 6. And they run a little like draw play as if it's going to set up to go for it on the next play. And they throw a little completion to Shaheed and then end up kicking the field goal. Boy, I really hate that play call now because everything seemed to be set up for, hey, this is 4 down territory. We're going to go for it. Nope. Nope, not at all. And I think that sometimes Mike Macdonald does coach scared. I really like Mike Macdonald. I've been so impressed. By the way, those 2 guys both being younger than me just pisses me off. It's infuriating that those guys are both like a few years younger than me. That's ridiculous, but they're really good head coaches. As Rob pointed out, they couldn't be more different. But I do think there's still a little bit of a learning curve with Mike Macdonald that he's going to, and that's kind of exciting, right? That they're as good as they are, and yet Mike Macdonald still has things to improve on. It's frustrating now because it did not help you win one of the biggest regular season games in a very long time. But it's still pretty cool that the Seahawks coach is learning and has been pretty damn good at what he's doing too. Yeah. And I'm not even a proponent of he's the reason I lost this game. If we said it earlier, it's mostly on the quarterback today, but
it's those situations where you can help yourself out a little bit, right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I love Mike Macdonald. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's one of the big reasons the Seahawks are where they're at right now, 7-3. I think we would have taken this through 10 games. Just a quick yes or no on that, Chris Crawford, 7-3.
Say that one more time. I'm so sorry.
Would you take 7-3 through 10 games?
Heck yes, absolutely. I will take 7-3, especially looking at like the schedule that they have coming up, where they're going to be favorites in probably every game for the rest of the year, except for maybe at San Francisco. I will absolutely take it. Anything now but 13-4 is going to be a disappointment for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Rob, are you happy with 7-3?
I am. Again, I predicted 13-4. So anything lower than that, I'm going to be a little bit pissed at myself, for being wrong on that. But
6-1, Chris? Really?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the schedule, man. Minnesota looks awful. Atlanta has the Penix injury. Indianapolis is at home. I think that's a game that they should win. I'll give them one loss between Indianapolis and Los Angeles. That's it. The rest of those games are games that the Seahawks should win.
All right.
And that's all, that's kind of the way I was looking at it as well. I think that Indianapolis, their running game is so good, but of course, Seattle's run defense has been so good. So that's actually one of the games I very much have circled because I want to see if the Daniel Jones, reincarnation basically is as good as it's all cracked up to be, basically. Same thing with Sam Darnold. I want to see these two quarterbacks who have kind of rebuilt themselves. Is it for real? And, so I'm very excited about Seattle or the Seahawks hosting the Rams in Seattle. It remains to be seen what uniforms they're going to be wearing to Chris's point. But this is your opportunity for some payback. And I think that an angry Seahawks squad is a very dangerous one. I know we all want to win every single game, but I am not at all bothered by losing this game if you come out healthy and angry as you should after a game that was so winnable, just sneaking out, basically slipping through your fingertips.
Totally agree. Once again, Seahawks loses 21-19. A tough one. It feels like there were a lot of opportunities to win this game. Tough one for Sam Darnold. Defense plays well. Just a couple plays could have gone your way, whether it was the field goal or whatever. And they could have gotten the win and been first in the NFC West and really atop the NFC as a whole, as Chris said earlier in this episode, and looking down on the rest of the conference. But you're not in a too terrible shape right now. As long as you win that second game at home against the Rams, I think you're in good shape. And just take care of business against bad teams, which the Seahawks have shown that they can do. So, all right, that's it for us. Really appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. Chris, Rob, you guys, the men, I should say. Turbo, thank you for spending one segment with us at least. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit later this week. You can check out Locked On Seahawks for all your great content. Corbin will have some stuff up later this evening. Rob and Corbin every single day. They're awesome. I can't recommend their work any more than I already have, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we'll be with you guys with our squad show a little bit later on this week. Have a good one. Go Hawks. We'll see you guys later.